to another episode of Strategic Minds Making Money Moves, where we talk about strategies to help those to get that green. You know, today is a really special day, and it's special because I have the opportunity to have a discussion and a conversation with someone whom I admire, someone whom I work with, someone who has just been phenomenal when it comes to thinking about marketing and strategies and moving forward. I'm talking about no other than Dr. Tashana Thompson. So today she wants to talk to me a little bit about strategy and where I'm going and what I've done. So let's see what she has to ask and where she's going. Thanks so much, Tashana, for being here.
Well, thank you for having me, and you for letting me play Vicki for a minute, right?
Not a problem.
Ask the questions, right?
Not a problem.
So I'm excited. You have been so much to so many, and working with you for the last 10 years, I've gotten tons of questions come through about how does Vicki do what she does? How does she give and show up so flawlessly and so just beautifully and so much grace? So tell me a little bit about what makes your heart sing outside of all of the stuff. Let's talk about the real Vicki for a moment.
Well, first of all, I would tell you my family is everything. My family means everything to me, and that's where it all starts. So the why. My why is, my husband. I have a wonderful husband that supports me through all of what I do and all the desires of my heart. And, that's really important in terms of having a partnership. And so we support each other. I have 2 grown sons. And, it's nothing like mama and her boys. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing where they are really like, mama, you can do this. Mama, you can do that. And they watch everything I do, as a wife. And because they're grown now and doing their things, it's like, well, how am I going to respond, when I become a father, et cetera. And my oldest son and my daughter-in-law, who is absolutely phenomenal, love my daughter-in-law to pieces, have 2 children. And so my grandbabies just make my heart sing. My grandbabies make me just want to do more and more and more. Not to mention, I got to stay young. I got to stay young so I can run with them.
They'll keep you young,
you
right?
You know what I'm saying? Trying to run around and do those things and all of that. And so they are the ones, and my youngest son, he's an entrepreneur, doing extremely well. He's an owner at a restaurant. I mean, he's staying in the food industry. I'm so proud of my family. So that's my why. And that's what keeps me going. And I think about, so what do I want to do next? And why do I want to do this? It's all about my family, not to mention my extended family. My sister is extremely supportive of me. She is the one that keeps me going and will tell me in a minute, you can do this, you got this, keep it going, it's coming. My nephews, etc. So my extended family is also there for me as well.
That's amazing. And we talked a little bit about how much you've mentored people over the years. Let's tell people how I came to know you 10 years ago, what you were doing. Tell them a little bit about the right answer. And, the true history and legacy that you have built over all of these years.
Well, it's interesting. My brother, it was 14 months older than I am, he got to a point where he had neuropathy in his legs and could not teach any longer. And so I wanted to do something. He was very good with computers. And I was thinking about how can I help him have a better quality of life when he couldn't go to work, and he was at home. What could we do to move it forward? And so I had a conversation with him. And he said to me, Vicki, you have mentored people all of your life. And I said, yes. And he said, so what can we do with that? And I had this vision. And I said, you know what? It would be wonderful to offer a mentoring program. And I really wanted to help girls and women at the time. And I said, maybe I can partner somebody who has a need with someone who has the expertise, and they could coach them and help them to move forward. It would be free of service. I would do it globally, and I would have him run my operations. So it was called The Right Answer, off of Vicki Wright Hamilton, but The Right Answer, and it gave my brother something to look forward to. Unfortunately, I lost my brother in 2014, and at that point, I just could not take the steps to move forward. Now, he always made me promise him that I would never stop helping others because he always said that was a gift. He always kept saying to me, you've had experiences, you need to share your experiences to move forward. So I took on coaching instead of The Right Answer, but it took me a long time to get through that journey and really understand that I could go on because I missed him so much. He was my right hand in everything I did. But that's how The Right Answer was born. And we had probably 25 matches. I have people in Ghana today that are still working with each other. I have people all over the world, and they always tell me this was the best thing you ever did, and I still keep up with my mentee and my mentor. That warms my heart because that's what it was all about, was being able to help others and help them to move forward.
Right. I tell you, I feel like we've lived a million lives together, right? Because we've come so far since then, and the brand has expanded so much since then. So it's really been a blessing to be along this journey with you. And to talk about that and take it a step further, you work with so many working mothers. What is your advice for working mothers, both single and married? Because I know you know both sides of it. And it's a hard thing, isn't it?
Look, motherhood is not easy. Being a parent is not easy. And a lot of times we like to think that we can, our babies are born and you know how to raise them and what to do. Every child is different, and trying to learn what makes them tick, trying to understand how we can move forward is such a challenge. What I will tell you, though, is that first, you have to know yourself. Mm-hmm. And I was not a mom to stay home every day. I needed intellectual stimulation. I needed to have that opportunity where I was stretching my mind and my brain. So in doing that, I really took the chance to say, I have to make a way, even when I was a single mom. What am I going to do to spread that time, even as a single mother, and get my business to move forward? I went through times where I had people come to my home to take care of my children. I had times where I had to have my children in daycare in terms of moving forward. But there were decisions that I had to make in order to make that work. And I could not do it without what? A schedule. My life went around a schedule. I got to drop them off at this time. I got to pick them up at this time. I got to do this. I got to take them to this place. Got to go to this place. I have to stretch these things out. These are the things I have to do. And then this is my time. So I will tell you that my life has gone around a calendar, and that's how I made it work. But I was also honest with myself. What can I do and what can I do? We're going to take a station break, and when we come back, I'll tell you a little bit more about that story.
Strategic Minds, Making Money Moves with Vicki Wright Hamilton focuses on helping entrepreneurs to overcome their business challenges to help increase their bottom line. Each episode provides strategies for growth and transformation. Watch Vicki share her 20-plus years of experience as a corporate executive to help entrepreneurs level up.
Welcome back. So, as I was talking about, you asked me about single mothers mm-hmm. and all of that. I always encourage them to know that we all have strengths, we all have talents. Understanding what yours are and how you can magnify them is important. Understanding whether you're a mom that can be at home. Some mothers are great mothers at home. That wasn't me. I would not have been a good mom, a good wife, or anything when mm-hmm. I got married because I knew what I needed in order to be the best person for them. And being married, I will tell you that, just as you have time for kids, trying to find times for your spouse. Mm-hmm. And, I will tell you, don't start anything you don't plan to continue. But when my husband and I first started dating, and then we got married, every Friday night was date night, and every Saturday night was family night. So we knew we had time to go out as a family and everybody knew it. And we knew that we had date night on Friday night. It was just the two of us. And we would tell the kids as they got older, you can go with your friends on Friday night when we go to our date night, but Saturday night is sacred. That's our family night. And then on Sundays was the time that we had our family meetings. You know, whatever we needed to talk about, whatever was coming up the next week, the things we had to prepare for. But that's what worked in my household. And that's how I was able to manage it.
I love it. I love it. So as a woman, you know, it comes with a unique set of challenges, whether you're married and you have children or not. What was your greatest challenge as a woman in business?
Well, it's interesting you asked me that question. I came up during a time in a field of technology where it was a male-dominated field, and basically a white male-dominated field.
Right.
And being an African-American woman, you were always in rooms by yourself. You were always on the outskirts. You know, you were not necessarily included. And I think the hardest thing for me was to recognize this is the way it is, and how are you going to make lemonade out of lemons? How are you going to make sure that success comes through this?
Right.
And what are you going to do? So I decided that, you know what? Let's use the teacher-student mentality. If the men were making it happen, why don't you be a student to the men and learn everything they do, why they do it, how they do it, the way they do it, the decisions they do it, so then you can play the game too. Because we can play the game as long as we know the rules to the game.
Absolutely.
Right? And sometimes we say, well, I know the rules, but they keep changing. But when you give back to them what they have taught you, then you're giving them their own words, their own language, their own way, and it's hard for them to go, she's smart enough to do this.
Right.
So I think the hardest thing for me was, you know, always being the only, being lonely, not having anybody to look up to. I was the person everybody else looked up to, right? I was the only leader. I was the only executive. I was the only one in this field. It was the only. So I had a lot of pressure because I felt like I had to be successful. I had to make sure that others could see, you know, a good role model, that others could see it can be done.
Right.
So I never gave up on my faith.
Right.
I just always used my faith to keep me going forward, but it was to make a difference. And the other thing is I never moved up without having a rope back there to pull other people with me. Because you're only as good as the tribe that follows you.
That's so true.
Because the more you move up as a leader, it's not you that's doing the work, it's everybody who works for you that's doing it.
Absolutely.
You have to set the vision and the strategy and remove the roadblocks and get out the way, right? And allow them the ability to prosper. So that was the hardest thing for me, you know, was being the only and trying to adapt to that, but knowing that I have to be successful. My parents fought too hard in the civil rights. My mother and father gave up too much for me not to give a return. And by not only myself being successful, but helping others to be successful and come along with me.
Absolutely. You know, you talked about as long as we know the game, we can play the rules. Well, a few years ago, you wrote a book that is still so timely today and is especially timely today, called Game Face, right? And I want you to share a little bit of your motivation in writing that book and, you know, all the goodness that came along with it.
Well, there is a story behind that in terms of writing the book. My mother would always tell me, you know, you have a story to tell. And I would say to her, who wants to hear my story? Everybody got a story to tell. We all have a journey. So what's so particular about mine that I have something that I should tell? And she said, Vicki, we need to share our stories. The reason that our community does not grow and develop is we don't talk about it. We don't make it so that we're sharing with others our particular story. And so she wanted me to write this book. Nah, I'm not writing this book. I'm not doing that book. Mama, nobody cares about it. I'm not going to fail at writing a book. I'm not doing this book. And she kept after me and kept after me and kept after me. Well, my brother wanted me to write a book too. And I kept telling him no. After he passed, my brother used to come see me as a red cardinal on my back porch. And one day, my mother and I were in my family room, and I saw the cardinal, and I said, "Mama, Tommy's here. Oh my gosh, he came to come visit." And so we went out, we were talking to him, and we had just had a little conversation, and then he flew away. The bird flew away. And I said, "God, it was so nice that he was here." And she said to me, "Well, you know why he came, don't you?" I said, "Why?" She said, "Because he wants you to write that damn book and I get busy." I was like, uh-oh, I gotta write this book. What am I gonna do? So I decided that the only way to tell the story was to be truly authentic. So I wanted to tell it all because we're a 360-degree person. My personal life as well as my professional life make one life. They're not separated. So I decided to be extremely vulnerable. I talked about the hardships of relationships. I talked about divorce. I talked about being a single mom. I talked about doing all those things while being in a profession that was hard, that I was always having to prove myself. I was never good enough. Talking about the emotional toll it took on me. Then finally finding a wonderful husband, who adopted my children, who took us as a total package, talking about, all of the nuances that come with that. But here's what's the deal. At the end of the day, it was a beautiful story that has been successful. And that's really what it's all about, is being able to help other people know it's hope.
Right.
So after I wrote that book and I started thinking further, I just said, how can I continue this legacy? And hence why my show was born of Hidden Stories Healed Now, because I want to provide hope to others. We're going to take a station break, and when we come back, we're going to see if there's a question for me from the audience. We'll be right back.
Strategic Minds, Making Money Moves with Vicki Wright Hamilton focuses on helping entrepreneurs to overcome their business challenges to help increase their bottom line. Each episode provides strategies for growth and transformation. Watch Vicki share her 20-plus years of experience as a corporate executive to help entrepreneurs level up.
Welcome back.
Well, you have just shared so much, and I have had the pleasure of knowing you for all these years and knowing, like you said, both sides to you. And you have been a tremendous caregiver to both your parents, your brother-in-law. Talk a little bit about, we could talk all day about that, right? But talk a little bit about what that looks like while trying to juggle working and keeping the lights on, you and Harold trying to keep the lights on as well, right?
It's not easy. It's very, very difficult. And I had a vision that during that period of my life that I was going to be working full time and doing what I needed to do, etc. God had a different vision. And he said, you're going to work, but you're going to work for yourself because you need the flexibility, right? And so when I began down this path and recognizing that my journey at that point was, yes, you're going to work a little bit so you can keep bringing money in to pay the light bill and help with mortgage and all that. But your journey right now is to take care of others.
Yep.
Your journey right now is to make it happen. And I have people ask me all the time, did you get angry? Did it bother you? And the answer is, I didn't get angry because I truly believe in honor thy mother and thy father, for thy days may be long. So there was never a question. When it came to my brother-in-law, it was supporting my husband. It was never a question, we have to do it. Some of those inner feelings at times were, oh God, I'm so tired. Can I make this happen? Am I making the right decisions? Am I doing the right things? Really, I began to question myself over certain things because I just wasn't sure, right? And I had to rely on the fact that God would not put me in positions that he was going to leave me.
Absolutely.
Right, he was going to be right there with me. So the caregiving took a lot. It was a lot of energy, but it took a certain mindset. And so I just kept doing. And after a while, it was like being a robot. You know, you go to the doctor's appointments, you come home, you go to therapy, you do this, you work on a project, you have a phone call. I can remember sitting in my father's room many times having conference calls. And when I get off, he would say, oh my gosh, that was such a long call. And blah. I said, yeah, but I got to go do this afterwards. He's like, Vicki, you're going to run yourself in the ground. I was like, Daddy, I got to get a check, right? I got to pay the bills. And so you have this mindset of I have to do what I have to do to move forward. But it was a very difficult time in my life. But not one that I regret. I have no regrets. I'm thankful that God gave me energy to do it and to continue to do it. You know, we're still taking care of my brother-in-law. I'm taking care of a cousin, you know, out of town, etc. But I'm just thankful that he has spared me with the ability to be able to continue to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One thing in the midst of all of that, what does self-care look like for you? Because you take care of so many so well. How well do you take care of yourself?
Well, I will tell you, I didn't at first. And I had a very, very good friend of mine that said to me, you need to go to Flywheel with me. You need to make sure that you go and that we go to exercise. Right. I was like, I'm not riding a bike. I'm not doing that. I'm not riding a bike. She was like, come on, just try it. Just try it. And I finally did, and I fell in love with it. And it kept me going. She actually saved my life because I was probably on the brink of the emotional side of not being able to hold it together. So from that point to this one, I exercise 6 days a week.
I know you do, and I can tell.
And
take me with
you know, and whether it does show or doesn't show, it's for my mental.
Right.
And so I work out 6 days a week. I go to Orange Theory now, and I do things I never thought I would do before, but it keeps my mental stability going. So my family knows every day at this time she's going to be working out. So at a minimum, that's my self-care.
I love it.
When I can fit in a massage or two, I do that too.
Amen.
You know, when I can fit in that time. But I had to make a commitment to at least one thing that was important to me that I would never stop.
Right.
And that was one of them. The second thing that I do is I meditate, I pray, and I take that time in the morning. That's mine. My clients know don't call me between this time and this time because this is what she's doing. Right? So you have to train people how to treat you.
Absolutely.
And so I went through that process.
Love it, love it. And what piece of advice would you give to your younger self?
Piece of advice to my younger self is just because you're good doesn't mean you're going to be recognized. And just because you do well doesn't mean you're going to be recognized. And so I had to learn that.
Yeah.
I had to really, really learn that. So that's probably what I would tell my younger self. Let's see if we have a question from the audience.
Okay, the question that I have for you, now that you've had all this success, what's next for you?
Well, it's not over yet. You know, I like to think about it as, yes, I've been in business for 10 years now, going on 11. But it's like I've only just begun. And it's that way because I keep rebirthing, right? I'm finding new things. I didn't have shows 10 years ago. I do now, right? I didn't, you know, I wasn't executive coaching the way I am now, but I am. I didn't have people working for me before, but I do now. So I have begun to look at what I provide and the services I provide and say, how do I continue to grow and develop? You know, I have conversations with my husband all the time. And he goes, okay, so what does retirement look like? I said, retirement? How you spell the word? I'm not even sure how to spell the word. But, you know, more importantly, I'm not sure that I want to retire in terms of the point that I want my mind to always be sharp, and I want to use it, and I want to elevate, and I want to move forward. And the only way to do that is to continue to be engaged. So whether I am formally working in my own company or volunteering for something, I will always do something, but I'm not done yet. God is not through with me yet. And so I'm going to work that strategy till he says, here's your plan, sit down.
Who says you have to retire?
That's right. That's right. So yeah, I plan to keep going. Thank you so much for asking the question.
And
So
you too young for retirement anyway. Huh?
well,
Nowhere near that.
Well, retirement is all relative, right?
Right.
It's all relative.
Be
It's
50
all
and
about
retiring, right?
I'll pay you after the show. It's all good. It's all good. But as we continue to talk about moving forward, I do want to say that providing strategy and help to others. My biggest joy in my business is probably why I will never stop. Is watching other people grow. There's nothing more fulfilling than when I coach, and I can say this: out of everybody I've coached, every one of them, male and female, have been promoted. Every single one of them have been promoted. And the feeling of watching that growth, that feeling of watching that success is like, oh my gosh, they did it. I told you could do it.
Right.
Look at what you've done. And it's a feeling that just brings me joy and warms my heart, in terms of moving forward. So I just pray that I can continue to pull the rope, pull others with me, continue to help other entrepreneurs, help them to grow and develop and to move forward. I want to thank each one of you for joining this episode of Strategic Minds Making Money Moves. I want to thank Dr. Tashana Thompson for sitting in and asking me a few questions about my strategies and moving forward and where we're going from here. Look forward to seeing you on the next episode. See you next time.